Hello, and welcome to Whiskey and Wool. My name is Shannon, and I am coming to you from northern New Jersey, where I live and work and craft. Thank you so much for joining me today, new viewers and returning viewers alike. I have a packed episode today to share with you about my knitting, some updates on my knitting. I have 2 FOs, which is so exciting. But before I get into that, let me take you over to a little whiskey chat. I have no idea what I'm going to talk about. It'll be filmed later today, later this evening. It's just right around lunchtime right now. So later this afternoon, evening, I will do a little film of a whiskey chat, and I hope you enjoy. If you are not interested in the whiskey chat, I will put a timestamp in here telling you where to skip to so you can get right to the wool and my other daily chatter. I'm going to do a little whiskey chat with you. Today we are going to taste, let me make sure I can get this name right. Auchentoshan. Oh my goodness! I know you'll correct me down below. Okay, I have a sample of the 21 year that is the second to last little mini dram of from my whiskey advent calendar from 2019. I didn't do too bad. I made it all the way to August. Yeah, so I have poured it into my tasting drum. Here we go. So they are a lowland whiskey distillery located on an estate outside of Glasgow in Scotland. I think they are the only distillery in a city. I don't think there's any in Edinburgh. Anyway, I might be wrong, but anyway, it is. I know when I went to Scotland, it was one that I considered going to because I knew I could get to it. I didn't realize that there were going to be these lovely whiskey tours that you could take right out of Edinburgh, which is what we ended up doing. And that's how we got to Glengowan and Deanston for those tours. So we didn't actually we didn't have enough time to go over to Glasgow and do any touring over there at all. It's really, those two cities are very close if you don't know the region. I think they're only about a little over an hour by train, especially if you get like an express train. Okay, let's talk about the distillery. It's one of those distilleries that has changed hands quite a lot over the course of time. They were established on an estate which is just outside the city at this point, and from the pictures, I haven't been, but from the pictures it looks like it's a fairly pretty park-like setting that they're in. They were established in 1823 by Thorne, no last name, by one Thorne, an engineer from Greenock, who manufactured the Inter Alia distillery plant. I don't really even understand what that means. I'm going to put a couple of pretty pictures in here. In 1878, they passed ownership, so they were held in the same hands for about 50 years, and then in 1878, ownership passed to C.H. Curtis and Company. They were also of Greenock. And they began to produce about 50,000 gallons a year. In 1903, George and John McLaughlin took it over. And then in 1941, a German bomb raid ended up bombing one of the warehouses. And so they shut down. They went silent through the rest of World War II just because they were very close to the River Clyde, and the River Clyde had a very prominent shipyard area, so it was in the Germans' best interest to bomb that area. So they were, I guess, indiscriminate bombing happened. So they reopened after that, and then in 1960 they were acquired by J&R Tennant of the Well Park Brewery, and that they also absorbed Charrington's in 1964 and later became merged again with the company Bass, which you might know better for beer. They were Bass Charrington from 1967. They got sold again in 69, so you can see that they really changed hands a lot. I'm going to skip on down. They were, in 84, they merged with Morrison Bowmore. So you may know Bowmore as a brand of whiskey. So that was 1984. So they were sold for almost £500,000 at that point. And then 10 years later, Suntory, the Japanese whiskey company, bought Morrison Bowmore. And so Suntory acquired Bowmore as a label, Auchentoshan as a label, and they have a couple others in Scotland. So that is the whiskey that I am enjoying today. It's a Suntory influenced, whatever that means. My impression of the Japanese whiskey companies is that they actually, I might not have this right because I really haven't done my research on this, but my impression is that they have tried very hard to stick to the craft as it is done in Scotland. Like they're not coming in and telling the Scottish companies how to run their businesses or how to mix whiskey. So they have long admired the processes that the Scots people have developed. So this is what I'm drinking today. So in 1994 was when they acquired Auchentoshan. I think that's it. So that 21 years, this would be at least from 1998. Yeah, so somewhere in that very early period, this one that I'm drinking was produced. So, and then after that, they've maintained, for the last 25 years, Suntory has maintained continuous ownership of them. They have a pretty nice line of whiskey. They are known for triple distilling. So not every distillery will triple distill. Triple distilling just means that there's a lot more filtration. So the finished production should end up being smoother and easier on the, meaning like you can drink more of it and not realize it, and drink more than you should probably before you realize the impact of it hits you. So they triple distill everything in their line. Some distilleries will only triple distill one or two different blends. They have a bunch of like very affordable. So they have an American oak single malt. They have a 12-year single malt. They have a 3-wood single malt. They have some more exclusive ones like a dark oak single malt, and an American oak reserve, and a blood oak single malt, which the blood oak is because it's a red colored one, not because they put coloring in it, but because they put it in barrels that had red wine. I think it was Bordeaux, actually. I'm not tasting that, though. They also have an 18-year and a 21-year. I am tasting the 21-year one. So let me click on over so I can tell you a little bit about their production of the 21-year, where they spend 21 years in a combination of American bourbon and Spanish sherry casks. It's a refined lowland single malt whiskey, and yeah, that is about all it says about it. All right, let me try and see what I smell. Okay, strong vanilla, and there's some sort of like berry flavor, berry scent. Like, not blueberries, that's a little too rich, but maybe more like a raspberry? And maybe burnt sugar or caramel smell? Oh, wow. Oh, I see what they mean about the smoothness. This is really smooth. You don't get the heat of the alcohol, the burn at all, as you often do, not on your nose or in the back of your throat. It's very mild. There's a strong sort of like cherry cakey taste too. I think last time marzipan is like in my head, like and wood, really strong wood at the end. Like you get this sort of, not the buttery oaky taste necessarily, but sort of like you chewed on a toothpick too long. That doesn't sound appealing, but all the other flavors make it pretty interesting. It's good. All right, let me see what the distillery says I should be tasting. Okay, on the nose, gooseberry. Never would have guessed that. And sweet vanilla and oak. Oh, and it says a fresh cut barley flavor, which I don't think I know what fresh cut barley smells like. On the tongue, light chocolate, soft green fruit, twist of old oak, which is what I'm saying about chewing on toothpicks, and honey for a satisfying smooth whiskey. And then in the end, long-lasting finish. That's all they say, really. There's some other stuff, but nothing describes a flavor. Okay, I'm going to go see what some other experts say. My favorite site does not have them, so I'm on a different site that has a collection of people from around the world that taste whiskeys and then just sort of comment on what they think you should be tasting. So they say on the nose, dry grass. Maybe that's the barley's taste, their smell that they're saying. Fruity notes, citrus edge, floral, honey. On the palate, nuttiness and rounded sugared peels, so like sugared orange peels. I don't really agree with this site. I think the distillery was more on the nose. Let's see what other people say. People suggesting a higher alcohol content. Fresh mixed green apples, vanilla, gooseberry, apricot, tobacco leaves, sugared almonds, honey, and maybe a slight hint of mint and oak. Mint? Wow. It's really, really yummy. Apparently this bottle is over $150. Is that right? Yeah, I think it's over $100 for sure, because the 18 year is about 90. So 21 year is probably more. So it's probably not a bottle I would want to invest in unless I knew I really liked it. This is really drinkable. Like many older whiskeys, like so once they're over 15, like when they get to 18, 21 and older, they really take on a lot of the flavors of the barrel. So you're always going to get sort of a strong woody taste or whatever it was barreled in. So that's just something to keep in mind. Like just because it's older, it will be more expensive always, because they've invested more time and money into storing it and stuff. But because it's older doesn't necessarily mean it's better. So do keep that in mind when you're buying whiskeys yourself. I sort of think the sweet spot is 15 years. That's what I've come to the conclusion. I seem to gravitate more towards the 12 and 15 years. I like some of the younger ones too when they're well blended or well like married, the different, because what'll happen, I'm saying blended, I don't mean it's still a single malt, but what'll happen is that like the barrels will get mixed together. So it's all these barrels that are all the same malt that are all, have been sitting there for however many years, 12, 15 years, and then they're put together for the bottling. It's not often that they just bottle straight out of the barrel. So often what these master distillers will do is like they might have one that has a strong certain flavor and another one that has a different strong certain flavor, but they're from the same batch, and they'll kind of mix them together to get this complex taste. So yeah, you can learn more about it if you go on your own whiskey tour. I just wanted to share with you some stuff that's sort of like rattling around in my head about whiskeys. I hope you get to enjoy a dram of your own of any of the different whiskeys that are out there and available. I love single malts. That is my jam. And yeah, see you next time. Yay. This is such a weird time though for college. If you are a new viewer or a newish viewer, and I haven't said it before, I'm a university professor and administrator, and my college just reopened this past week, and it's weird. It's just strange. I haven't been to campus yet. I'll probably go at some point this semester, maybe. I look at it like I can easily do my job from home, and I'm not allowed to meet anybody, including students, face to face. So why would I go in to the office to just sit in my office with the door shut? I have a very nice workspace here in my house, so I'm fine managing my job from home. Yeah. So, but I understand from folks who have gone to campus that it's strange. It seems to be pretty busier than they expected from what people that I've talked to. More people around than they expected, which I guess has its ups and downs. But yeah, anyway, I hope you are doing okay and dealing with the pandemic and the after effects. I have 2 sons out of work now, and one who's probably going to be next. And it's scary. It's just scary times. So we don't really know when either of the ones that are out of work will get work, how long they'll be able to hang on without work. I mean, the crappy thing is like the gig economy's dead too, because, if you couldn't get work in a regular job, like maybe you could get a job as a barista at a coffee house or a waiter or something. You can't even get that now because those jobs are few and far between. Oy vey. Yeah, it's interesting times. So, what can I tell you about? Let me get into the wool chat. I have an FO, and Martha is also wearing an FO. I have 2 FOs. It should be no surprise, this one, if you watched last time, my episode from 2 weeks ago. This was very close to being done. This is the Kýma Sweater by Qing Fibre, Layla of Qing Fibre. Qing Fibre is a UK-based dyer, if you're not familiar. The yellow floofy yarn is her Veranita, which is a cashmere silk yarn. I have a little here. So Qing, I probably already popped it on screen, but just so you can see, Qing Fibre, hand dyed in UK. Veranita, it is 79 cashmere, 21 silk, and this is the colorway Butterscotch. I have a touch left, a little dab left. And of 3 skeins actually. So the pattern, I knit the size medium, and the pattern called for 2 skeins of DK weight and 2 skeins of the floof, the lace weight. But I ended up needing a 3rd skein. I didn't even finish knitting the pattern as it was written. I knew I wanted it to be longer, but I ran out. So I panic ordered a 3rd skein. That's what took me a little bit longer. It was a pretty fast knit. You're knit on a 7mm needle up here on top, which is a US size 10 3/4. And it just worked out so beautifully. The DK that you're seeing is my own hand spun. It is a 4-ply. I've talked a lot about how I made this in the past, so I'm not going to spend time doing that right now. This is a wool cashmere forget what else is in here. Some silk, I think, is in this yarn as well. But it's mostly wool. It's like 80% wool, and then there's like some other stuff. There's a little bit of sparkle in there, probably a little bit of manufactured something or other. But this is what I have left of my second skein. So, and my yardage was bigger than a normal, like DK. I think I had closer to, like, I had about 280, and most DKs are about 220, 240 yards. So this was like a lot more yardage. I have enough to maybe do a little something for the baby. We'll see. We'll see. I love knitting for her. I'm going to be, if you're new, I'm going to be a grandma in October for the first time. So a lot of my knits have been baby-centric, which I have a new one I'll show you later when I get to my whips. So yeah, my biggest challenge with this sweater is figuring out how to style it. I really haven't spent that much time because it's been so hot. I haven't spent that much time thinking about it. It's been so warm, I have no opportunity to wear it, and it's a little hot right now. I think I can make it through this episode wearing it, but it will come off as soon as I'm done, and I'll put a t-shirt on instead. I'm just wearing it over so it's like pretty sheer. You can see it's got these big floofy sleeves. Very big. Yeah. I really enjoyed the process of knitting this. I learned a few different things. I had never knit a sweater where you knit across wrist to wrist. So you knit this top part in a traditional way, just top down, the way you do like a traditional raglan, top down knit until you get to here, and then you stop and do these panels, these sleeve panels that are in the DK. See, I think you can see it there. And then you do both, and then you do the back, you do some short rows. There's a shirt tail hem in the back. I'm going to put some pictures on screen of me wearing it. Note in the pictures that I took these pictures before I blocked it, and after I blocked it, this part really smoothed out. And also I think I really think what happened was that the lace, which was very open and loopy, kind of shrunk down a little bit. It's not that noticeable because it was so huge. Like there's so much positive ease in here. It didn't seem to shrink up in length all that much, but it did sort of tighten up the knitting down here, and I like it so much more. I was having a lot of problems as I was knitting the lace portion of it catching on things, and I was like, oh boy, this is going to be a nightmare to wear. It's just going to catch on everything. But now it's a lot more, after blocking, it's a lot more cohesive of a fabric. So it's really, really cool. So yeah, it was a super fun knit. I have an end that I didn't cut very well. I didn't trim back, so I need to take care of that. But yeah, it was fun. I love it. I love the colors. I think they're so gorgeous, and yeah, I just super, super happy with the way, just the knit itself. I want to be 100% transparent about the knit of this. Knitting this lace weight portion was a pain in the butt. You're knitting on size 13 or US size 13. I think that's like, wait, in my needle gauge here. So US size 13, which is a 9mm needle. So they're big fat needles, and this is really thin yarn and very slippery because cashmere silk is slippery. And yeah, that wasn't fun. That part wasn't fun. I do think I'm going to make another one. I had pre-ordered a kit when Layla first launched the pattern. She also launched kits. So I pre-ordered a kit in black, like black floof and like a black based speckle DK from her. It should be here soon. But I think what I'm going to try to do is reduce how much of the lace weight I knit. And I think I want to drop this line down by like 3 inches so that it's more, it's just lower. Because if you look at, like, this is very high. This is like mid armpit for me. But if you look at the pictures of Layla wearing hers, she's wearing a medium too, and she's my height. I just think I have a lot more volume in my torso than she does. And I think it looks so much nicer on her. This is a much lower line. I think it's even like below the fullness of her bust. So where mine doesn't even come close. Like I'm a few inches away. So I would like to try to modify that and maybe knit more DK and less lace, just because it was not the fun part of knitting this sweater. But otherwise, yeah, the rest of it, I have a lot of notes in my Ravelry project page if you are interested in knitting this as well. I wrote copious notes about the modifications that I made, which were very few, and I mostly just modified length. And yeah, that's about it. Today, I don't know if you're hearing rain in the background, but we're having a rainy day. We little weather interlude. The hurricanes from down south, they push hot air up into our region, and so it's very sort of stormy out. Or I think one of the remnants of a hurricane is drifting through today. So maybe thunder. You might hear thunder. I heard some thunder earlier. You may hear thunder or hard rain. I think last time you heard a lot of birds. There are a lot of birds out, but I have the windows shut. So yeah, so anyway, this is my FO. I really am so glad to have it done, and I'm looking forward to, wearing it for real instead of just like putting it on for one episode. Martha is wearing another FO. I literally finished this last night, and it is still actually a little bit damp. Yeah, it needs to go back on the blocking mat after the recording is over. This is the Pink Velvet by Andrea Mowry. I did not make any modifications except I think she had tubular cast-ons. She seems like she always does tubular cast-on and tubular bind-off. I don't like those processes, so I didn't do those. I just did my regular. I do longtail. I do old Norwegian longtail cast-on. I learned it from Jessie Made of Jessie Made Designs. I learned it from doing the bralettes last year, and I love it. I absolutely love it. That is my favorite go-to. It's stretchy. The other thing that I really like about doing old Norwegian longtail is that when you cast on to like a circular needle, the stitches all line up in a row. They don't twist around the wire and stuff. They twist slightly, but you can really line them up very easily, and you know that you're not twisting your, making a Mobius strip, like twisting when you're knitting in the round. So yeah, I really, really love it. I love it for that, and also its stretchiness. It's a little, you got to get the hang of it because you're using bringing a big long cord and making a slip knot, and then you're using the end as well as the strand that's coming out of the yarn. Like, so you're basically doing something like this, where you're making a slip knot here and then you're pulling, and yeah. You can look it up. Go ahead and Google it. I will have put the name on screen, and there's a lot of information about cast-ons online by people who are probably better teachers than me. I have knitted out of, it was written for Qing Fibre, funny enough. So it was written for Qing Fibre singles, Merino singles, and the melted Suri base that she has, the melted baby Suri. So this is the colorway that I used. It's called Aurora. I had bought this in January for a sweater of my own design called the Saucy Suri Bomber Jacket, and I knit the entire jacket. I bought 6 skeins for that jacket, not knowing how much I would need, and I needed only 4, so I had extra. And in May, I was watching Caroline of Dundernit, and she was talking about this sweater, and I was sitting there thinking, I didn't realize that it was made out of the Suri, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, well, I have Suri on hand, and oh wow, like it would look really great with this yarn here, which is the Little Gray Sheep, or now just known as the Gray Sheep. British Stein Fine Wool 4-ply, a fingering weight. And this I had bought, it is in the colorway Squid Ink Pasta. I had bought this yarn at EYF. So yeah. I realized that those two would look really great together, and I went ahead and cast on in May. This sweater has been on the needle for 4 months. And the reason is that I kind of pooped along on it. Like I pushed myself to get through the yoke, as I always do, because I find them so addictive. And then I kind of just did a few rows here and there of the body, and then all of a sudden, now it's starting to get cooler again. So I was like, well, gotta get this off the needle. So I pushed myself to get this done the last week, especially. There is some striping here. I guess this is, I didn't realize, like looking at this on the skein, it doesn't really look like it would stripe like that, but it did. It's not as bad, I think, in person as it looks. It looks more contrasting on screen than it does in person. But I mean, I don't mind it, but I don't love it. Like, I'm not like, oh, it's cool, it's great. It's a little distracting. I hope I don't mind it when I'm wearing it. I don't think I will, because it will, I don't think it's really going to be all that noticeable. I do wish I had spent more time alternating skeins. I mean, if I had alternated skeins, it wouldn't have been like that. It would have probably looked more like it does here and on the sleeves. Yeah. Oh well. What are you going to do? The only other mod I did, besides not doing her tubular cast on and bind off, was more length. So the pink velvet is a crop sweater. I think I added about 4 inches to it. Yeah, because the waist is here, so I think she added in there. Maybe I added 6. Maybe that's more like 6. But yeah, I like it. It's really pretty. It's just, it looks like it's going to be one of those really cozy, wearable sweaters that'll be awesome for you know, the cool days that are coming up for us. And it used pretty much, I had bought 3 skeins of this at EYF in 2019. And let me just see if I can tell you. Yardage 330 meters, which I guess would be about 300 and... I think this is technically a sport weight. I was looking at their website a couple weeks ago, and I believe that this is officially a sport weight, even though it's a 4-ply. It is spun at John Arbin, for those of you who are are knowledgeable, I guess, about UK wool sources. It is a farm to skein process, the Grey Sheep Company. Yeah, they have a sheep farm, and then they shear their sheep, and the wool goes to John Arbin for spinning, and then it comes back, and Emma of the Grey Sheep Company dyes it. And so she does small batches, small dye batches. I was leading up to, I had bought 3 skeins, and I have just about 15 grams left. So not a whole lot, but enough for some color work stuff. I do have a color work pack of theirs somewhere in my stash. So I'm going to add, it's blues and greens conveniently, so I'm going to add that to that pack, so that as in the future, if I am using those yarns for color work, I have an extra color. I think it's 6 or 5, so this will be either 5th or 6th or 7th color. Yeah. So that is that. Moving on to my whips. I am so thrilled. I spent so much time working on this over the past couple weeks that I'm really, really happy that it's done, because now I just want to get my Rhinebeck stuff done. Because Rhinebeck, though it's canceled, there are some events that are happening online. And I want to have a new sweater for Rhinebeck. Christy Glass Knits does the Tell Me About Your Rhinebeck sweater. That is, most people, if they haven't heard of her, they've heard of the Tell Me About Your Rhinebeck sweater videos. So she is doing a video compilation of folks in their Rhinebeck sweaters. So she has information on her channel, which I'll link her channel in my show notes down below in the description box and over on Ravelry. I put my show notes in the description box, but then they're also on Ravelry linked to Ravelry sources if that's useful to you. otherwise you can just take the name and Google it, and you'll find, if you're not on Ravelry, because I know some folks aren't on Ravelry these days. So I think I've been on this Andrea Mowry kick, and it just does not seem to be going anywhere, as I will talk to you about my upcoming cast-ons. It's, she's just really talented. She's a talented designer, and I didn't have an interest in knitting her patterns for a while. But then once I made one, and I experienced like how smooth it is to knit her patterns because they're so well tested. She's very popular. Hopefully you've heard of her. She's very popular, and she's probably, I think I read somewhere that she is the most popular designer in the knit world right now. There's a handful, I would say, that would fight for that title. Her, Joji Locatelli, and Stephen West, and probably Caitlin Hunter would be in a distant fourth with those three. Those three are definitely pretty well known. Anyway, and they're all, I've knit all their patterns. I would say Joji Locatelli, Stephen West, and Andrea Mowry, all really well written, well tested patterns and what's great when they launch their patterns is that there's 20 or 30 project pages immediately that you can take a look at, compared to like when I launch a pattern, maybe you have 3 project pages to look at, and one of them is very definitely mine. But yeah, so it's, anyway, enjoying her pattern and her design sense, and I am working away for my Rhinebeck sweater on the Shifty by Andrea Mowry. This pattern is also a cropped sweater, which I will not be making cropped. If I were to knit to her pattern, I'd be pretty close to being done. And that would, just very uncomfortably be a cropped sweater for me, which, no, not for me. I mean, I love the way cropped sweaters look over dresses. That's definitely a look I could pull off. But I don't wear dresses very much. Most of my dresses are summer dresses. I don't really wear dresses in the winter. I wear skirts. I'm hard to fit, I think, for dresses because I'm very curvy. I have a big chest, small waist, big hips, and it's hard to get a good fit. So I just, 2 pieces work better for me. So this is the Shifty. It is, it's such an addictive knit because it is knit completely out of Spincycle dyed in the wool, which this is one of my main body colorways. This is Cassiopeia by Spincycle, but it's exclusive to Starlight Knitting Society. And it's a beautiful blue-green, as you can see, beautiful blue-green with bits of yellow in there. The way you do the Shifty is you pick one color for your background color, and then you pick 3 colors that will stripe in. So I picked, see if I have them all here. Yeah, I have bits and pieces. My first color was this one, which is Cataclysm. It was kind of boring because it was pretty much like you see a bit of gold there, but that's the only spot in the whole skein that had gold. The rest of it was just kind of this like very same blue-green color, which I guess worked okay with, this yarn, this color. It definitely was, it's tonal and doing a good job making a pretty color mix. But yeah, then when I switched to my second color, which is this one, this is Midsommar, it has a lot more going on in it. I was kind of in a little shock with that second color because there was just, it went from peach to like this coral color to peach to blue to pink back to coral, and then it was heading back towards like it was going through that orangey, like similar to what's going on in this, like this kind of like orange to yellow or pink to yellow to orange, like gold, warm tones of pink and coral, basically. And then here, this purple, where it turns purple, sorry, let me get it closer. Where it turns purple, that's my third color coming in. So my third color is Ruination. It's this one right here. So it is a blue to purple to green. And I'm probably in a stretch right now on the needles that is the most low contrast right here. But that's going to change quick because the main colorway is turning into this blue next, and my contrast color is about to turn purple. So that should be good. And then, because I'm making this longer, so what I should do is just another section. Oh, something fell. Oh, my fourth color fell. What I should be doing after this Ruination section, which is going to be half again as much as what you're seeing here, so that much. I should be doing the rib, but it's going to be too short. So I'm going to keep going with a fourth color that I just dropped. So I'm going to grab that. I'm going to use this one, which I have on hand. This is Truth Bomb. I think it'll be fine. It's going to continue that blue-purple feel for a while, and then it'll turn into a brighter blue and green and yellow, and then finishing back with the pale purple. I won't get that far with this anyway, because I figured out that I only need to do, she has you do, each color is 6 sets, basically, or 6 1-inch repeats. So you do 6, 6, 6. I'm only going to do 4 with this one, I think, because I think I figured out that'll give me the length that I want. And this isn't quite a full skein either. And then when you're done, you go back and knit the sleeves, and you don't use this color. I would use this color if I wasn't introducing a fourth. So I may bring this back in, maybe at the tail end of this if I run out in the sleeves. I have to kind of figure that out. I always find like knitting with Spincycle, when you knit with Spincycle, I always find the sleeves the tricky part, because you can see that in the skein there's like this color pattern happening, and it's challenging to make 2 sleeves match each other because you just end up with this long, slow gradient, which is gorgeous. But so I always struggle with, do I just let the sleeves do what they do, or do I deliberately go in there and try to adjust, snip, adjust so that I get a match. I think with this I'm going to be okay. There is a stretch of like sort of this blue purple in there, but I think maybe what I'll do with this is knit one sleeve from one end and then the other sleeve from the other end, like knit my way down towards, like on either side, down towards that purple, and then they should pretty much be a good match. The Ruination, I think I'm going to run out of. But I may do the same thing with them, like maybe knit from either end. Though it seems like it's going to be very, it's going from green to like a pretty sort of purple and then into more of an indigo shade, finishing off with sort of a blue teal. Yeah, I don't know. It's a problem for another day. We'll figure that out later. So yeah, what else can I tell you about this? This is a mosaic knit. Oh, just got stuck on my sweater. There we go. The needles. This is a mosaic knit. If you are not familiar, a mosaic knit is one in which you use only one color per round, and the color that you're not using where you want it to show on the surface, you slip it. So what you're seeing on these rows here with the yellow was slipped, while the blue-green color was knit and purled in those rows. Yeah, so mosaic knit is pretty interesting. When I first realized this was mosaic knit, I've done a lot of mosaic knitting. I have some patterns that have mosaic knitting in them. Um, when I when I first realized this was mosaic, I was kind of bummed actually because I was like, I kind of hoped it was colorwork. But then I got into it and I was like, this is really, really fun. It does create like this sort of blister effect. Like it just reminds me of blisters, but I think blocked, what you're going to see is this opening up and growing. I definitely blocked, I have a blocked swatch. I can show you. So you can see the difference of that pattern, how much more open and flat it is, blocked versus unblocked, right? I love the way the Midsommar just popped. I was so anxious about it, but I just really love the way it popped. I knew I would, like, rationally, but I still emotionally fretted about it. But I do really, really love it. I mean, I know I love blue greens so much. But I also know that like the best contrast to blues and greens are yellows and oranges, or like that red orange family. So I tend to do both. I'll do blue greens and I'll do the pink orange yellow family, the bold gold family. So yeah. All right. I think that's enough about Shifty, right? That is my proposed Rhinebeck, or will be Rhinebeck sweater, and it will probably be done by the next time I make an episode I record, because it's, like I said, so addictive, and it's so much fun. Like it's really awesome to watch the color changing, and you actually have the color changing happening in two different directions. Oh, also, if you haven't made one and you're curious, I think that you could easily do all one color as your contrast, like, because you would still get, unless you pick a boring one like Cataclysm, but like if I had done all of Midsommar, for example, all the way through, it would still be really pretty and it would be interesting because there's so much going on in the skein. Or if you did all Truth Bomb as your single color, single contrast color all the way through, I think it would be really, really gorgeous because you'd have the color changes happening with your background as well as with your contrast color. It would be really pretty. So if I ever make one again, I think I'm going to do something like that where I'm just using two different colors. It would certainly be easier to manage, I think, in terms of like getting your sleeves to match and all of that. The other thing I just want to bring up too, before I completely put this away, is that I ordered 6 skeins. My size, I needed 6 skeins of the dyed in the wool, so I ordered 6 of them. And they all were quite different. This is just the 3 that I haven't knit with yet, but you can just get an idea of how different they all looked. Like this one on top is quite a bit darker, and the green in it is really like a beautiful spring green versus like yellow. I don't really have any yellow in this one. But the current skein that I am knitting, you can see I have a huge patch, a big stripe. There was a big yellow section in there, which I like. I like it. So I'm good with it. It was a little confusing too, like deciding which skein to start with and which one to go to next. I think I'm going to use this darker one next because I'm about to run out of the one that I'm using right now. I think I'm going to use this one next. I may even reverse it. I may go back and rewind it so that this is on the inside and this is what I'm pulling from to knit, because I think I want to get that dark blue into the body instead of it showing up on a sleeve, because I think it's going to be kind of strange. It's an anomaly, this navy blue, this like deep blue. It's not in any of the other skeins, so I think it might be better if I knit it into the body where there are more anomalies, and then leave these 2 that are more in the middle of the color range for my sleeves. I have such a huge pile of yarn over here that I don't usually have here. This is usually very cleaned off because I use it as a workplace. But I just piled up all my stuff for my episode, for my recording, and I just lost the stitch. Okay, let me put this away and move on to other whips. So I have a second Rhinebeck something. I may have a third Rhinebeck something if I can manage to get another sweater done by then. I don't know if I will, because I really want to move into, after these Rhinebeck things are done, I really want to move into gift knitting for the holidays. Okay, so I joined a 2020. Just put this up. I joined this shawl along by Christy Glass Knits, Asylum Fiber, Stitch and Hustle. It's called the Flutter and Fly shawl along. And to be a part of it, you had to buy the yarn from Asylum Fibers. She made kits. So I pre-ordered a kit. There were 3 colors, and the theme, she does, this is, I think, their 3rd time doing it. I was kind of oblivious. I was completely oblivious in 2018, if that was the first year they started. In 2019, I was aware that they were doing one. They were doing a dragon theme, Duchess and Dragon theme shawl along. I don't know what they did the first year. I don't remember. I really, really don't remember. I was aware last year that they were doing it, but I was really not into making a shawl. I have since given away a lot of shawls, so I was like, oh, I could do another shawl. And I really love the community togetherness that you get out of doing a shawl along and being part of a group. I really, really enjoy that. And it's really, like, I don't have a lot of fiber friends, people that are also into knitting in my area. So I often go to Rhinebeck by myself and try to meet up with people that are coming from far away, and like getting an opportunity to visit and stuff. So being part of groups really helps me meet more people, meet future friends, so to speak. So this year when they talked about the shawl along and they said it was a butterfly theme, I got very interested and went ahead and pre-ordered and joined. So I'm a little behind. I cast on right away. I got the yarn, the whole kit. It was a beautiful kit, which I'm going to show you everything in a minute after I show you my knitting. It was a beautiful kit with lots of little stuff that came with it, cool little things. And I cast on right away, and then I set it down to finish this beast. But I'm going to get back into it this weekend. I want to really make some work. So this is as far along as I am right now. I chose they did 3 colors: Monarch, Purple Hairstreak. Monarch is orange. Purple Hairstreak is purple. These are actual butterfly names. And then a blue one, which I don't remember the name, but I'll put it on screen because I will probably have looked it up. And I will also show you Christie's orange monarch colored colorway. It's a DK weight shawl, so also that was another plus for me, the fact that it was DK weight, knowing that it would knit quickly. It's DK weight, knit on a size 9. What's the millimeter? Size 9. US size 9, 5.5. Yes, 5.5 millimeter needle. So it moves. It moves, at least so far. I mean, of course, I'm very early. It actually, this is the top right here. It's a crescent-shaped shawl. The gorgeous purple is called Purple Hairstreak, of course. And it's like a pale purple. It's more of a dusty purple. It's got some brown, some warm speckles in there, blue-brown speckles. And the contrast, I think this kit probably has the lowest contrast. The contrast is kind of the opposite. It's a warm toned brown, golden brown, and it's got definitely, there's some purple-ish sections in there. And on screen they look more contrasty than they actually are in life. But they're pretty. I like them. I like purple. I'll definitely get some wear out of this. And this yarn, I've never knit with Stephanie's yarn, but it's so soft. It's really gorgeous. Do I have a superwash, 100% superwash merino DK, purple hair streak, and then the brown color is called Flutter. So yeah, there you go. You can buy these colors, I'm pretty sure. I think she made more kits, so I think if you were interested, you could buy some. Or you can also, if you buy any of her DK, you need 3 skeins of the main color and then 1 contrast. If you have any of, even if you have it on hand, you can join the shawl along, which is going from now until Rhinebeck, which is October. I don't know when I don't know what the deadline is to have it done in order to get to be part of whatever Christy's going to do for it. I'm sure she's going to do some sort of event, like a virtual event. Along with it, so let me show you what came along with it, was this beautiful project bag by Handspun Hope. They are, I don't know a lot about them. They're based in Texas, but they're a Christian organization that supports Rwanda's women, I think mostly, poorest through job creation, community building, and spiritual counseling. Yeah, so you often see them. I've seen them at Vogue. This company, they make skirts and dresses and project bags and things like that. So we all got a unique project bag, and they did a great job. I've seen a lot of pictures online. They did a great job of like coordinating your bag with your shawl color. We also got these really beautiful pins made by Shamika. I need to like take my hand off of it so you can actually see it. They have coordinating ones. Oh, here, it goes like this. There we go. Now you can see it. So you can see it's a butterfly. And we got, I'm having a hard time keeping that on my lap. We got these little stitch markers. Mine is purple. Everything I got is purple. It all coordinated in the pre-ordered kits. I think they're not coordinating now if you get a kit. I don't even know if there's kits still available. So apologies if you're interested. I have a lace section to do next, which is why it hasn't happened, because I was like, okay, that's a section I need to concentrate on. What else did we get? We got a whole bunch of stickers. So we got a Flutter and Fly. There's the Monarch sticker. And I also got a purple butterfly sticker and an Asylum Fiber sticker. So I love stickers. I put them on my water bottles. But it's a jewel design, either, I guess it could be a bracelet or it's meant to be a shawl band to like keep your shawl in place. Also that says Flutter and Fly, so like a memento. 2020 shawl along and a pin, which says Stitch and Hustle. So this is like a 3-person operation. It's Christy doing, as far as I can tell, doing the publicity and marketing and just like throwing her influence behind the project. Michelle I think she's of Stitch and Hustle, her design, and then the yarn from Stephanie of Asylum Fiber. So yeah, so fun. It's so fun to just be part of a group. Yeah, so that I hope will get done soon as well. The last whip I'm going to show you is a baby thing. A baby thing. So last time I showed you a big bag of rainbow yarn, and I couldn't resist casting on the rainbow sweater. So rainbow blanket. I don't have a lot done. I'm probably about halfway through the red section. And what I'm doing is I'll show you a full skein. I'll show you the orange. I got a 6 skein, 50 grams skein set. Each skein was 50 grams. Set of rainbow yarn from Neighborhood Fiber Company, which I'll put a picture in here of what the whole set looked like. And what I decided to do was make a baby blanket out of it. I'm totally copying Amy of Stranded Dye Works, so it's her fault. Blaming her. well, no, she influenced her beautiful rainbow baby blankets and the ones that are rainbow blankets, rainbow throws, and the one that her mom is doing, I just had to cast on. So I'm taking this 6 skein mini set as my base, and then what I'm doing, because the mini set, here's my red, because the mini sets, there are the 50-gram skein sets are all solid, I'm mixing in some speckles minis that I had in both, just around, like from, a lot of them are from, I think 12 of them are from my Christmas, my Advent calendar from 2019, so I'm really pleased to be using up some of that. And what I'm doing is just knitting with, since these are 50 and these are 20, I'm on my second one of these, and I'm just knitting with them until they're gone, and then I'm attaching the next one, and I'll knit with the red until it's gone. So 2020, and then I will, when this one's done, I'm trying to do a marled effect. So when this one's done, I'm going to be using pink. So it'll be like a red, pink, and then pink into orange. So I have like kind of a idea of like a way to fade those together. Fun. Should be a fun knit. And I have plenty, this is just a collection of those, it's just those mini skeins, scraps, and like leftovers and mini skeins that I had around. And I have plenty more if this turns out, if I turn out to not have enough of any one color, I have plenty more. I am aiming for, I don't have a pattern, and I'm actually, after watching Amy's latest podcast with her mom, I'm bummed that I didn't do what she did with the slipped stitches to create an I-cord finish on the sides, but whatever, it's fine. I think my grandbaby will still love it. I hope she drags it around with her everywhere when she gets a little older. But yeah, I'm just knitting. I cast on 150 stitches on a big needle, like somewhere in that 7 to 10, 8, 10 range. And I'm aiming for like 36 inches wide by about 48 inches. So 3 feet by 4 feet, just crib size. I found a website that had blanket sizes, like throws, stroller blanket size, crib size, stuff like that. So I already gave them I gave the baby and the parents what I would consider a stroller size blanket, but they could certainly throw it on the floor. I did Vertices Unite baby blanket, and that was fun. Those were so fun. That was my second one. I made one for a friend last year. So yeah, that is my other whip. And other than that, I don't have any spinning to share with you aside from telling you about an upcoming spin. I didn't spin that bat. I still have it on my bed as a bat that I'm thinking about spinning, but I think this is going to take priority, this next spin, because I've been thinking a lot about Andrea Mowry's Spark cardigan, which I'll put a picture on here. It is a colorwork cardigan with a shawl collar and a belt. It's cute. It's worsted, which I was like, I don't like worsted all that much. DK is about as heavy as I can go for my own wearing. It just doesn't get that cold here. Like, it's cold, but it doesn't get so cold that I'm wearing a worsted weight sweater. If I lived more north, it would probably be something that I would want more of, but I have a couple worsted weight sweaters and I barely wear them. I actually don't wear, this is a cardigan though, so cardigans I wear, if they're heavier, I tend to wear them a little bit more. Long story short, I want to make this Andrea Mowry sweater. I didn't think I wanted to make it. I figured I seem to lag about a year behind everyone else. But let me get into stash acquisitions before I talk to you about the rest of this, because it'll make sense. So I ordered some Wing and a Prayer yarn. This has been like on my wish list for years. I have wanted Wing and a Prayer Cormo for a long, long time. I finally... So I'll tell you about Wing and Prayer after I tell you about it. So I finally decided to just bite the bullet and buy it. mostly because like it's expensive, but it's sheep. It's a sheep to skein, so that this is also very expensive. Sheep to skein. It's a sheep to skein operation. So those sheep to skein operations are usually you're getting really great quality, very special yarn, but also you're paying for it. So it's expensive. This is very expensive yarn, but I'm like also not spending a lot of money because I'm not going anywhere. I can't go out to eat. I can't travel anywhere. So I just figured let me splurge on some. And when this yarn arrived, I'll tell you what it is in a minute. It's Korma. When it arrived, I was like, wow, it's really scrumptious yarn. It's a very, she does all natural, all hand natural dyed yarns. She used no acid based, chemical based yarns. It's all natural dyed. So this is basically a madder root she uses to make this color. And there's something else. I don't recall what it is. I don't think she said what it is on the tag. No. When it arrived, I was like, wow, it's really very neutral. I could put anything with that. This isn't not a color. It's like a natural sort of camel color. Let me show it to you up close, because what I did like about it was the gradient sort of quality, the heathery quality that happened in it. This colorway she called Old Fashioned Rose Petal. I actually got 4 skeins of it, and it sat for maybe 2 days, and I was like, oh, I could make the spark cardigan out of that, because I like to knit with a slightly lighter weight. Like if I was going to make the spark, it would be with a DK, so this is a DK weight. And I was like, oh, I can make the spark cardigan out of that. So then I started down this path of sort of thinking a lot about, okay, what goes with this? Like, it pretty much anything goes with this, but what would I like with this? So I spent a lot of time looking at images of what goes with this sort of, it's really kind of taupe, isn't it? I mean, that's what I would interpret. It's kind of camel, maybe taupe. So I just did some searches, some image searches on color combos with using those words, using camel, using taupe. I'm going to put a couple of the images in here as I'm talking, just so you could see what I was looking at. And I sort of settled on this idea that I love blues and greens. Like there's no, if you've been watching me for a while, you know that I love those colors. Those are colors that I naturally gravitate towards. If I was just buying a color for nothing, like nothing, no plan, I didn't have a plan, I would probably buy blues and greens, like shades of blues and greens. So I had a bunch of pictures, and I started to think, okay, well, this is another, I understand why Andrea Mowry is so into, I have swatches now to show you. So, well, I understand now why she's so into Spincycle. It's really beautiful, beautiful yarn. Also very expensive. And in my head, I was like, okay, I could totally use her yarn. Like Spincycle yarn, it's the dream state. And I'm looking and I'm going, well, I'm sort of settling on this idea of blues and greens. And I have a color called Deep Bump that I've used in another sweater. So I had some leftovers. So I decided to go ahead and swatch the two together. So this is Deep Bump in here, and this is the Old Fashioned Rose Petal color. It's okay. I like it well enough. It would be a subtle, low contrast, more low contrast sort of color, which don't be surprised in another month or so when I show you another low contrast sweater that I'll be knitting for my Christmas sweater this year. That's a problem. That's a story for another day. Come back in a month. I'll tell you more about that. But this, I was thinking like I really would like this more if this was more punchy. And don't get me wrong, like that Deep Bump color does get more punchy. So I would get a really nice gradient of blues. But this would be the overall color that I would get. This would pretty much be the overall look. And I did actually knit the pattern, the colorwork pattern. I bought the pattern and I did knit a little stretch of it just so I could see what it would look like. I was surprised it wasn't mosaic. I thought I was knitting a mosaic sweater, but it actually is not mosaic. It is true colorwork. this could be, well, it's DK. This could take a while. I'm going to try to get it on the needles in time to join the cal that's going on, and I have till the end of October, I think, to finish it. So I started to think that I would prefer a more punchy, brighter color, and then I just started to think about the spins that I've been doing and how I've sort of been toying with a 3-ply and making a DK weight yarn 3-ply Spincycle Dream State inspired, and I started to think about what fiber did I have on hand, and I realized that I have this gorgeous braid from Into the World. I'll put on screen so you understand what I'm saying. And I thought, wow, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I just have to color manage the colors and the plies so that I get the effect I want. So I have one of these. I have a second braid that is pretty close. It's got a lot less blue, but a lot more autumnal colors. But I think color managing, they're both BFL, 100% BFL. So color managing them together, integrating them so I get 2 skeins is really going to be the way to go. So it's going to be, you can see I'm going to get these pops of blues with these autumnal colors, and I just think on the taupe, it's really going to give me the punch of color that I want to get a higher contrast. I think it's going to be really, really beautiful. The colorways of these two, one is called Captain Tight Pants, which is, I've learned, is a nickname for a TV character from an old series, Firefly, Serenity. And the other one is called Sentinel. I don't know which is which, though. They are very similar. I bought them both at Rhinebeck in 2019. And I don't know at the time that I was consciously thinking about what I was going to make with them. I just think I wanted to buy some Into the World fiber, and you can see exactly my point from earlier. I gravitate towards these blue-greens when I have no plan. And the orange and reds, as I've said before, I tend to gravitate towards those for contrast with my main color. So I remember shopping for these and looking at them and thinking I probably would have bought 2 of the same color if they had to. By then they were pretty, by the time I got to their booth, they were pretty shopped down, and I ended up just finding 2 that I thought kind of coordinated with each other, and that I figured I could do something with them. So I'm really happy I got these, because these are going to be perfect for this spark cardigan. So yeah, I have a little spinning project for the next couple weeks, which is awesome. I haven't spun at all, and I'm actually having a little bit of left arm, which if I knit too much, I get a little left arm pain. I'm having a little left arm pain, and I think spinning is a nice way to sort of be doing something that's fiber without knitting, and it gives my left armed a chance to do something different for a little while. So yeah, so this is going to be fun. I almost broke these apart this morning to start laying out the colors. So I will document it though, and I'll show you next time, like the process of this. And maybe I'll even have a skein to show you, if not some bobbins at least. Yeah, so that is my next spinning project, and that is all my knitting. I did end up, I made another purchase that arrived. How am I doing on time? Yeah, I'm getting over. I've been watching Saucy of Stress Knits for a while, and I really have wanted to try some of her colors. Her aesthetic is up my alley. She loves pastels and earth colors. So, and I love that too. Though she and Sweet Sparrow yarns, they kind of do the same type of colors. They do those earth colors as well as pastels. So she started this thing 2 weeks ago. She did 50, these are all, they look so small, but they're actually 50 gram skeins of her favorite base, which is an 80-20. This is I Smell Snow. They're really looking washed out, so I hope I can fix this in editing, but I love the black speckles in this one. This is a colorway that I've never seen before in her shop, but it's called Over Coffee. This is Where Does the Good Go, which is like a really beautiful gold with mint, that mint and peach and pink. Like she kind of really gravitates towards those, that stuff. This mint, that peach. Showed you those. This one is also really, really gorgeous. I love this one. It's very speckly. It is Dancing on My Own. And last I got Dusk. So I just went on, like I didn't get to the sale right when it happened. This is like a beautiful mauve. I wanted an opportunity to grab a few of her colors and sort of think about them and have some on hand to knit with, like knit smaller projects with. Baby knits are small, so I could easily do some, one of each of these would make a baby-sized sweater. If I just use one, it would be plenty for like a flax light in 3 to 6 month size. So I thought about that. I also considered that they would all go together. Like I could combine them into one project if I wanted. So this is basically 2.5 skeins. Like this is a sweater's quantity for me. This amount right here, like 2.5 skeins, I can make a sweater out of that. I can do like the Elton cardigan, for example. Instead of doing the mohair mixing with fingering, I just do all fingering. Like I could do a different sort of mixture of these colors, which would be really beautiful. Or I could do like a timely cardigan if I wanted to do a different type of stripe. So yeah, so I really wanted her yarn. I just really wanted some of those colors so I could look at them in person and think about them and think about how I might use them in some upcoming projects. So yeah, so I had to buy those. And then last I bought some charity yarn. This is Lavender Loon, who's another dyer who I really, really love. This is her called Indie Birth, and it is a beautiful like purple and cream and brown with speckles, highly speckled. I mean, Lavender, Samantha Sam of Lavender Loon just really does her ability to handle dye is amazing. This is for a charity called Black Home Birth Initiative. So it's to help Black mothers who want to deliver at home. So you may or may not know, but Black women are more likely to die in childbirth than white women. And yeah, so their healthcare is super important. It's a really great initiative. Sam is a midwife in training or about to be a midwife. Maybe she's already completed her training. I'm not sure, but that is something that she's passionate about. So she did a charity and I bought a skein to support her and the charity, and I have no regrets. And last I bought this beautiful pink skein. I bought these right around the time that I found out that my grandbaby is going to be a girl. So I just thought, beautiful pink girl knit. So yeah, this is called Petal. I don't know if this is a regular in her shop or not, but I got them together because I ordered them at the same time, both a pre-order and a ready-to-ship skein. So having a baby to knit for has really made me a little braver about buying single skeins, because I really stocked up on a lot of single skeins a few years ago, like in 2016, 2017, when Stephen West first came into my orbit. Like I first started to learn about him and I was seeing how he was combining all these single skeins into these beautiful shawls and garments, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm just gonna stash a whole bunch of single skeins so when he comes out with a new design I can just like pull from my stash instead of like spending all those hours shopping for it. So as I just collected a bunch, and I ended up at some point I had like 110 or 120 single skeins which is crazy. I'm down to about 40-ish, 50. I do have a bunch in D-stash. if you ever are interested, if you're ever shopping for indie dyed yarn and you want some, you know, at deep discount, shop the D-Stash on Ravelry. You'll find plenty at pretty good discount, probably about 2/3 about what you would spend buying them new. Yeah, so I have really reduced that, and I'm gonna review all of my total number of stash acquisitions for the year, because I really started this year thinking I was doing a stash down, and then the pandemic hit and I just found more crafting time, and I've realized like my yarn stash has grown because I'm spinning, so I'm making more yarn for my stash. So I'm hoping like this cupboard behind me, which I don't know if you can see all that well. You can see a little bit right here. There are 6 of these cubbies that are full of yarn, and then I have a bin full of scraps, and then I have a drawer, about a drawer and a half, a little less than a half, of sweater quantities tucked away. So these are all my single skeins primarily. There are some sweater quantities in here, but these are mostly my single skeins behind me. My goal is to get the single skein, like make room in here for my skeins of hand spun, because my hand spun is also in a bin, mostly in the closet. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna do a full end of year review of my stash in December or January. So you'll see that later. Well, that is about it for me. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you got a chance to get some knitting done and I kept you company. That's the goal. And I hope you return again for another episode in a couple weeks of me sharing with you my projects and a little whiskey. And yeah, hope you stay safe and are well and sane. Hope you're staying sane. It's really weird times here in the US. It's really weird times. Yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.